Hello, everybody. This is your host, Meg Horn. I'm a travel sales manager here at AAA Northeast. I am joined by my colleague, Stacy Crowley, as well as some of our outstanding travel partners. First, I'd like to thank you all for joining us this afternoon. Hopefully the weather's been kind to most of you, but I know we've been getting a lot of rainstorms today. We are super lucky to have partners with us today that pride themselves in offering incredible rail experiences, and we'll get to hear from them in just a moment. Here at AAA, we feel that rail travel is a hidden gem. Most folks are deciding between land tours or cruise vacations, which, don't get me wrong, they're both great, but rail travel has so many options. Quick city stays, cross-country journeys, domestic and international exploration, as well as combining it with a land or cruise, specifically up in Alaska and Canada, wink, wink, nod, nod. Traveling by rail is truly a unique way to see and appreciate the destination you are exploring. Before we get started, I wanted to review a few housekeeping tips for you all. All participants are currently muted, but we'd love to hear from you. So if you have any questions, please just pop into the chat box and we'll be happy to answer it. Stacy will be monitoring the questions throughout the presentation, and following the last speaker, she'll be reviewing them with the panel. This session is being recorded and will be posted on our website later this week. In case you missed anything or want to take another peek, the recordings and others in our Next network can be found at AAA.com/travel center. Again, AAA.com/travel center. Now for the fun stuff. We're joined today with two leading industry experts, and I can't wait to see how each of them can make your rail travel dreams come true. Tim Palmer is the Business Development Manager for Rocky Mountain Air, and he is joined by Jim Marini, Vice President of Strategic Partnerships at Amtrak Vacations and Rail Bookers. Let's just dive right in. Jim, what can AAA members look forward to when traveling by rail with you?
Great question. And Meg, thank you for the introduction. There's pretty much everything and anything you can look forward to. It's a different way to travel. If you're looking to stay closer to home and you just want to visit family or friends, we got you covered. And not only here in the US, but also throughout the world. So if we move to the next picture, one of the things I wanted to start out with all the great AAA Northeast members joining us today, folks, we have what we call our maximum flexibility offer. So on any Amtrak vacation package, as well as any Rail Bookers package, any of you actually have the ability, if you needed to change your travel date, to postpone your trip. Once you book with a small deposit, which is typically only about $250 through your local AAA travel advisor, you have the ability to change or postpone your trip if or when needed, and we are waiving any and all change or cancellation fees. And all you need to do is just reach out to your local AAA travel advisor before the end of September of this year to travel anytime as early as the late summer and fall of this year, or anytime in 2021. As we move through today's presentation, I did want to mention being a AAA Northeast comes with so many great member benefits. One of the things I wanted to mention is on any Amtrak vacation or Rail Bookers package, you automatically get a $100 per booking bounce back offer to use towards your next 3-city independent rail journey. Plus, being a AAA Northeast member, any packages 5 nights or longer, you could take $50 off that booking. And I did want to mention we now have an exciting partnership with AAA Vacations that has 12 exciting Amtrak vacation packages now available where you can actually save up to $100 off per booking. So definitely ask your local AAA travel advisor to tell you more. As we move forward, we're going to start out today with Amtrak Vacations, because one thing is for sure, folks, and this includes not only the US, but Canada as well. There is no doubt members like yourselves are wanting to stay locally within North America, at least initially, before traveling internationally eventually. So we're going to start out with the Amtrak Vacations. And if we move along today's presentation, I did want to mention for any of you that may have cabin fever, or you want to visit family or friends, or you just want to experience what it's like traveling on board the train, and maybe you're looking for something different, any of these trips, you can literally book to travel as early as literally from tomorrow, within the next 2 to 3 days, 2 to 3 weeks, 2 to 3 months, domestically here in the United States, up to 24 months in advance for any of our Canadian, European, and worldwide rail vacations. So I wanted to just mention that as we move through. Now, where does Amtrak Vacations travel to? I always love showing this map, everyone. If you look at all those different colorful lines, those represent all the different train routes. Do you know last year over 31 million people traveled on board the train? over 31 million people. So if Amtrak was an airline, it would actually be the 5th largest airline in the United States. Now, what we're seeing now more than ever is members like yourselves are starting to choose now more than ever to travel by train versus plane. All right. So if you're concerned to fly, or you don't like to fly, or maybe you don't feel like driving, do you know there's over 500 Amtrak stations that you can start at? And many of them, of course, within New England as well as New York and New Jersey. All right. So keep that in mind. As we go through, from this particular slide, I did want to mention some important updates going on right now. Now, obviously, any of you looking to travel in the near future, obviously, facial coverings are required on board the trains as well as at the train stations and also on the throughway buses. They now have an enhanced cleaning protocol. I want to say every hour upon the hour, they're sanitizing the inside, the outsides of the trains, the doorknobs, the handles, the train stations. We've now gone cashless, so now credit cards are accepted on board all the trains as well as the train stations. We have social distancing posters and floor stickers, just basically allowing for that 6 feet distance apart from one another. A committed team of 18,000 employees making sure that you get to your destination safely, as well as onboard distance. In fact, as of today, as we speak, Amtrak Vacations is purposely operating at 50% capacity on board coach and business class, allowing for more room in between one another. Now, I'll also add another one, staying in overnight sleepers. Okay, we're going to get to that in a minute, but I did want to highlight one of our most popular trips. And by the way, the trips I'm highlighting today, these are trips that are trending right now as we speak for members like yourselves booking new trips with us to travel as early as the late summer and fall of this year into all of 2021. And if you look at this map, everyone, this will serve as a great example of some of the different trips I'm going to highlight here today. All the red lines represent the train routes. The number 1 in a red triangle just lets you know that's an overnight on board the train. The number 1 or the number 2 in a round black circle just tells you how many nights that you're overnighting in each of these great cities or destinations. Now, obviously, many of you who are based in New England as well as New York and New Jersey, some of you might be wondering, okay, well, Jim, how do I get to Chicago? You see, there's so many great benefits of being a member at AAA Northeast. So if you don't mind flying, AAA can book flights for you in and out of O'Hare or Midway right into Chicago. Or if you're concerned to fly or don't want to fly, well, guess what? You can start right from your local Amtrak station. And the best part of this trip or any trips that I highlight here today or any destinations that you might be interested in, any of them can be customized. Now, this trip's special. If we go to the next picture, what I love about this particular trip is it's not only getting a chance to visit some of the great cities, but you have 3 fantastic national parks: Yellowstone National Park, Yosemite, as well as the Grand Canyon. Yellowstone, you know, the first national park in all of the world, let alone here in the US. If you look at the top right-hand corner, that is the Grand Canyon Railway. In fact, that is your main form of transportation for any of you interested in the Grand Canyon to get into the south rim of the Grand Canyon, which travels right from Williams, Arizona into the south rim of the Grand Canyon. Now, it's only about a 2-hour train ride, so I always recommend definitely ask your local AAA travel advisor to tell you more of what it would be to upgrade to the dome car or the rail, the actual dome or the parlor car on board the rail itself. Worth a little bit extra, but you'll have that much more of an amazing experience. Now, here's the best part. As we move to the next picture, what I love mentioning is now more than ever, what's become so popular, and you're going to hear this today, not only from myself, but my fellow guest speaker as well, traveling to areas in the US or Canada where there's lots of open spaces. So folks, if you don't want to be around a large crowd, if you don't want to be in a major city, why not travel to some of the most iconic, beautiful national parks, whether it's Yellowstone, Yosemite, Grand Canyon, whether it's Glacier National Park. And speaking of national parks, there's so many different national parks that we visit. And the beauty is, we also travel to some of those other iconic national parks in the Western United States. Parks such as Bryce Canyon, Zion National Park, Arches and Canyonland. Some of you may have heard of the term the Mighty Five. These are some of the most iconic national parks in the great state of Utah. Now, on some of our packages, we also can provide car rental. So what a cool combination. You can go by train, by car, and I will mention too, in all the national parks, folks, we can get space for you inside some of those hard to get space lodges. These are lodges sometimes that sell out a year or two in advance, but when you book through AAA, they partner with us to get those hard to get space lodges. And I also will mention in any of the great cities, you also get to choose between a 3, 4, or 5 diamond hotel. So keep that in mind. As we go through, moving along, it's not only the national parks, which of course is our most popular area in the United States. It's also for any of you that want to experience multiple nights on board the train. So some of you may even want to go cross country from the New England area or East Coast and maybe connect in through Chicago and then head out west to some of the great cities out in the Western United States. Now, any of you that are interested in spending multiple overnights on board the train, a great way to know what tours are available is looking at the names of the trips called rail experiences. And the difference is if you look at the red lines in the red triangle, you can see the number 2 on 2 of the different train routes. What that means is you're spending multiple nights on board the train. And if we go to the next picture, what I love is this particular slide not only shows you some of the great cities and attractions, whether it's Seattle, San Francisco, but also I will mention we also go to some of the small to mid-sized cities as well. So some of you may want to go to Charleston, Savannah, maybe San Antonio, Memphis, Nashville, Albuquerque, New Mexico, San Diego. We not only visit all these great small, mid to large cities, but we have 3, 4, 5 diamond hotels available, sightseeing tours, meals, attractions. We have packages all put together, but any of them can be customized, whether you're adding days, taking out days, or creating a package right from scratch. Now, again, for any of you that want to stay local, traveling by train here in the United States on board Amtrak Vacations is a great way to do that, where you enjoy private accommodations. Let me give you an overview on the different types of accommodations. So as we go to the next slide itself, what I wanted to mention is on the trips themselves, once you enjoy your private accommodations on board Amtrak, you have the ability to upgrade to a sleeper. And with everything that's going on in the world, as I've been mentioning in a lot of my presentations, there's definitely some silver lining moments. You know what one of those moments are, folks? When you upgrade to a sleeper, you can board the train separately now. That's never been offered in the past. So if you don't want to be in a long line or around a large group of folks, you can board separately or individually. Now, what's the most popular category? You are looking at it. This is a roomette. Roomette is our most affordable and our most popular. Now, if you look at the diagram in the bottom left-hand corner, as you can see, it's bunk bed style. What you don't see inside of a roomette is its own private toilet or shower. But remember, our most popular and most affordable, because right down the hall, we have what we call private yet shared toilets and showers. And the only people that can use them are only folks that are in sleepers. Let me give you another view of what it looks like on the next slide. Here's a little view of what it looks like inside. Now more than ever, again, if you want to feel safer and more secure, being in your own private sleepers, which, by the way, you can take off your own facial covering when you're inside of a roomette or a bedroom or any sleeping accommodation, but you could certainly also get a good night's rest. And what a great experience this is. As we move through to the next slide itself, what I like is every room, doesn't matter what category you're in, has their own private accommodations with a privacy door. So you can close the door, it locks from the inside. You can close the curtain if you want to take a nap during the day, or certainly for a good night's rest. Now, you know yourselves the best. If we go to the next picture itself, what I always like to say is we do have rooms that do have their own private toilet, shower, and vanity inside. That is called a bedroom. And as you can see by the diagram in the bottom left-hand corner, similar to a roomette, it is a bunk bed style, but it does have its own private toilet, shower, and vanity inside. The room is a little bit larger inside size versus a roomette. In some cases, also, some of our trains, we even offer what's called adjoining bedroom. So for any of you that may head down to Florida, I'll tell you, the auto train packages are always very popular for us. My family and I did that last year, and I'm a family of 5. So we had 2 bedrooms that adjoined each other. We opened up the door in the middle, and the kids could go back and forth between the 2 rooms. And we do offer that on some of our overnight accommodations. But for those of you interested in having your own private toilet, shower, and vanity inside, let me give you another picture on the next slide of what it looks like. Again, a little bit larger in size. It also has its own little chair that you can sit down. And again, just very comfortable, but it does have its own private toilet, shower, and vanity inside. So if you're interested in that, definitely ask your local AAA travel advisor. Now, if we go to the next picture as well, did you know when you upgrade to a sleeper, you can actually bring your own private, your own alcoholic beverages on board the train? Now, whatever you may consume does need to be consumed from the privacy of your own room, but it is available only when you do upgrade to a sleeper. But let me give you another silver lining moment. We talked about being able to board the train individually and separately. Do you know now you can order off the menu and meals can now be delivered to your own private sleeper? So if you feel safer and more secure to order what you want, hot, fresh items for breakfast, lunch, or dinner off the menu and have them delivered to your room, you can do that. If you want to dine in any available dining seat, you certainly can do that as well. Also, if any of you have any special dietary requests, just let your local AAA travel advisor know, and he or she will make those arrangements with us. That is USA. That is domestic travel. Let's move into our sister brand, also preferred with AAA Northeast. But before I do, folks, I got some great news to share with all of you. If you have a paper and pen, if you have an iPhone, a mobile device, a camera, feel free to take a picture of this because this only applies to Amtrak Vacation. So today's presentation could not be a better timing. This Friday, July 17th, this offer expires. Any of you that book with a small deposit of only $250 per person to travel as early as the late summer and fall of this year or anytime in 2021, if any Amtrak vacation package is between 3 to 6 nights, you could take $300 off per couple. If it's between 7 and 9 nights, you could take $400 off per couple. And if it's 10 or more nights, which also can include any overnight travel on board the train, you could take $500 off per couple. And guess what? Being a AAA Northeast member, if it's 5 nights or longer, you also get an additional $50. And if it's one of the 12 select AAA vacation packages now with Amtrak Vacations, you can add another $50, giving you an additional $100 off the package. It expires this Friday as long as you book with a small deposit, and that's good to travel anytime later this summer, fall, or anytime in 2021. The next part of today's portion before my next guest speaker is our sister brand, Rail Bookers. This is typically all of our Canadian, European, and worldwide rail vacations. But before I get to it, let me just give you a quick highlight on a USA destination that some of you may be interested in as we go to the next slide. All right. What does Rail Bookers offer? So just like Amtrak Vacations, it's not only confirmed seat reservation, we also do activities, hotels, 3, 4, 5 diamond, ferries, excursions, overnight rail journeys. And if we go to the next picture itself, Alaska. Now, some of you might be wondering, well, how do I book Alaska with Rail Bookers through AAA? Well, this is on Alaska Railroad, and the train travel in Alaska is train by day. So here's my question for all of you. Is there anyone that may have originally been planning to go to Alaska on board a cruise ship or wanted to travel? Again, no fault of the cruise lines, they're not operating. But for many of you who may want to go as early as the late summer and fall of this year, here's your option. This is our most popular package, Alaska Adventure with Alaska Railroad. And if we go to the next picture, I did want to mention on the next slide, this on the top left-hand corner is a picture of inside of Gold Star service. So this is an upgrade if you do want the glass dome ceilings. So definitely ask your AAA travel advisor to tell you more. Now, I will mention, and I don't want to steal thunder from my guest speaker, but on the next picture, we also offer Canada. Now, here's how we offer Canada, okay? If or when you book that fantastic Rocky Mountain Air package, but any of you may want to go across country and travel from Jasper to Toronto, or maybe start in Toronto and head west out to Jasper, we can also help you with that portion right through your local AAA travel advisor. So for any of you who want to go across Canada, definitely ask your AAA advisor to tell you more. But the last portion of today before I turn it over to my fellow guest speaker, and the next slide is our great via rail and onboard accommodations, which we have different types. But if we move along, the last portion, I did want to mention this picture, all those lines are all the different train routes in Europe, and none of them talk to each other. AAA makes it easy, and they take care of more than just rail. If we go to the next picture itself, everyone, here's what you need to know. With AAA Northeast, they can take care of not only the local trains, but the high-speed trains that can go up to 200 miles an hour like Eurostar and Trenitalia. If you go to the next slide, they also could take care of packages for you, not just the train, but hotels, sites, meals, activities. Here's our Scenic Switzerland package from Zurich. Again, lots of open spaces, similar to the beautiful national parks or up in the Canadian Rockies. How about in Europe for 2021? As we walk through the next few pictures, I'm just going to show you some of the different iconic trains you get a chance to experience. The Bernina Express, all right? This is one of your first luxury trains. If we go to the next picture itself, my personal favorite train, Glacier Express, actually known as one of the slowest express trains in Europe. It's about an 8-hour journey that will take you through the Swiss Alps. Absolutely fantastic. Travels over 291 bridges, 91 tunnels. If we go to the next picture itself, it's over to the Gönnergrat and the Jungfrau Joch. This is actually going to take you up to eye level of the Matterhorn. All right. And Switzerland, you just can't go wrong. If we go to the next picture itself, was also some fantastic cities, whether it's Lucerne, whether it's Zermatt. And this happens to be one country, but for any of you that want to plan your trip of a lifetime, your dream destination where you can experience multiple trains, multiple countries, Rail Bookers through AAA has you covered. And on any trip, any of them can be customized. And if we go to the next picture as well, also, if any of you are planning or already have any cruises planned, how about extending the cruises before or after? You have the ability to do that not only in Europe, but also within North America as well. And before I wrap up my portion of today's presentation, I did want to just remind everyone again, all you need to do, especially if you want to take advantage of those extra savings for any of you who want to travel locally here in the US, as long as you book before the end of this week, Friday, to travel as early as the late summer and fall of this year or anytime in 2021, you will have the maximum flexibility offer. If you did need to change or postpone your trip, we will waive any change or cancellation fees. So as we wrap up, again, being a AAA Northeast member comes with so many great benefits. Packages 5 nights or longer, take $50 off, whether it's Amtrak vacations or Rail Bookers. All right, if it's one of the select AAA vacation packages, you can take double the discount. And again, AAA will help you with these great benefits that apply. And as we move forward to the very end of today's presentation, whether it's here in the US, any of you that are looking to travel within the next few weeks, next few months, or up to 24 months in advance for any of you looking to travel internationally, we have you covered. All right. So as we finish up, I just wanted to say thank you all so much, and I will turn it back over to Meg to introduce our next guest speaker. Thanks, everyone.
Wow, that is just, thank you, Jim. That information was fantastic. Truthfully, like anytime you do a presentation, I'm like, yep, I'm doing rail. It's a happening thing. you always convince me. Sold.
Awesome. Thanks, Meg.
Yep. I did see a few questions coming through. So like I said, as a reminder, we will do a Q&A session at the end of this presentation. If you have any specific Amtrak or Rail Booker related questions, go ahead and add those into the Q&A session. I saw somebody asking to re-show the Alaska map. As mentioned before we started, this presentation is being recorded. So like I said, you can pop back in and you can play around with it and do anything you need there. Alrighty, so with that being said, I'm gonna switch gears on over to Tim and Rocky Mountaineer. So Tim, you guys have a pretty unique experience that you offer. So what can our members expect when traveling with you?
Well, before I go into that, one of my goals in this industry was to never follow Jim Marini for presenting. It's a difficult thing to live up to his energy, his style. So Jim, great job. I learned a lot, and I'm sure all of the members here learned a lot too. What a great opportunity to travel around the world by train with Amtrak vacations or Rail Bookers. But yeah, Rocky Mountaineer is slightly different than that, maybe a little bit closer to that Alaska adventure trip that Jim was talking about. And I'm sure a lot of people are going to be excited. But Rocky Mountaineer started 30 years ago, and Peter Armstrong on your screen right now, he is our founder and owner. We're celebrating our 30th anniversary, but Peter had a vision, and that was to connect the Vancouver region out to the Canadian Rockies. And if you go to the next slide, Jeremy, you'll see one of the images that I'm talking about here. You can't find a better place on earth than getting up into Alberta and the Canadian Rockies. And that's something that Peter Armstrong definitely understood. But one thing you have to do is travel by daylight to see this beautiful region. Peter also understood the importance of having a host on board our trains. So you're following along with a mile marker map. You're being handed out alcoholic and non-alcoholic beverages throughout the day. And you have a phenomenal host that is there to treat you to the sites that you're seeing. So it's not only the sights out the door, it's not only alcoholic beverages and good stories, But the next slide is going to show you one of the most iconic reasons that we all travel, and that is gastronomy. Being able to enjoy the delicacies that we find throughout the region of Alberta and British Columbia, we bring that right onto the train. So the salmon that is in the rivers right by us, the Alberta grass-fed beef. What I would say after 30 years of doing this, Peter's vision has come to fruition, and we really are allowing people to experience the extraordinary. That's your cue, Jeremy, to experience the extraordinary. There we go. Excellent. So the next couple of slides that I'm going to be looking at are kind of your thoughts on how to book Rocky Mountaineer, what to expect on Rocky Mountaineer, and to look at all of the routes that we have as well. So as we bring up our maps of the region, and it's not quite as impressive there as the Amtrak Vacations and Rail Bookers map, we are going to zoom in on Alberta, British Columbia, and give you a better understanding of what Rocky Mountaineer does. So the next slide really goes in a little bit more in depth here with the map. Calgary and Vancouver are our two gateway cities. As Jim had mentioned as well, if you would like to take a train all the way across Canada into Jasper, you can do that by all means with Via Rail. Jump right on in Toronto and head on up to Jasper. You could also take a train direct across the entire United States and go from Seattle up into Vancouver. We don't really care how you get there, but there are 3 distinct routes that we have to offer here. So the first of our rail routes on the next slide is First Passage to the West. And this is where we get some people confused. We are offering 2- and 3-day rail routes. The First Passage to the West here connects Banff and Vancouver, all-day travel with an overnight in Kamloops. The next route that we have is Journey Through the Clouds, and this also is going to be a 2-day rail experience connecting Jasper to Vancouver, all daylight travel with an overnight in the town of Kamloops. And the third route that we have, it's called Rainforest to Gold Rush. And Quesnel, which is probably not on your bucket list of destinations to travel to, but it should be. It is in the Gold Rush region of British Columbia. This is a 3-day train route that connects Jasper through Quesnel and Whistler onto Vancouver. And the next slide I want to share is for those real train enthusiasts, and you wouldn't be on this webinar if you weren't a true train enthusiast. Well, you can combine 2 of our routes together to call what, well, feedback there, to call what we have is a circle journey. So making sure that we offer not just 3 different routes, but ways to personalize, combine them, and make your experience the way that you want to have it. So as we think about not just routes, you have to think about service levels as well. And when you think about hotels, and that's something that we definitely offer, our hotel partners have different service levels. Up in the upper left-hand corner, you have the Chateau Lake Louise. This is a 5-star property in the heart of the Canadian Rockies. Well, we all can appreciate that as a 5-star. We understand what a 3-star is. But when you look at our service levels on the train, you may be wondering, well, what am I trying to go for? The gold leaf, the silver leaf, what is the true differences? And that's what I want to differentiate here today. So as we go into the silver leaf, you'll see that it's a single level coach here. And from the outside of the silver leaf, you'll see it on the next slide, you have a 14.5-foot high train car, a lot of glass windows here. And in the next slide, you see that it's a tremendous amount of headroom and a lot of space. So as people are walking around, they're able to really look out the windows more than, focus on the interior of the train. And my favorite slide to express that is this one here. You see the amount of glass that we have in Silverleaf at this point. You are looking out these windows all day long. The one caveat to having a single level coach here is the dining experience. So with Silverleaf, we will be dining at our seat. On Rocky Mountaineer, we do a breakfast included as well as a lunch included. In Silverleaf, you're going to have 2 options for your breakfast and 2 options for your lunch. But the lunch is a full smorgasbord, essentially. I mean, you're ending with nice dessert there. You're starting with a super salad, as well as having perhaps, again, some short braised ribs or something else from the region. However, the Gold Leaf service is by far the one that is being booked most often. But before I go too far into Gold Leaf, the obvious differences here: you have an upstairs, you have a downstairs, you have an outdoor viewing platform. But when I'm at mile marker 130 and the host is talking, whether I'm looking at the Silverleaf windows or the Gold Leaf windows, it's the same scenery. We're serving the same high-end spirits, beer, and wine. You have the same exact sightseeing information given to you by the host. So let's dive into Gold Leaf a little bit and really understand, what are you paying the difference for? From the outside, again, this is now an 18-foot high train car, very impressive. The inside of it, though, where you would have your assigned seat for your 2 or 3 days on the train, you start with the upstairs, the full dome experience. This is where 2 of your hosts are doing the storytelling. They're handing out drinks all day, lots of snacks as well. To go from the upstairs to the downstairs, we use a spiral staircase or a single person elevator. And once you get downstairs, you're now at a white linen tablecloth dining experience. So the meal experience is definitely going to be a little bit different here when you're on Gold Leaf versus Silverleaf. In the Gold Leaf section, you have 8 different menu items to choose from. And the best part of it, it's cooked right there on the train car. My favorite dish is this one here, the prawns and risotto. That's a lunch dish. We also have a sunrise skillet in the morning. If you like your eggs runny, we can adhere to that. If you like them fried hard, by all means. And then it's the space that you have in Gold Leaf as well. So upstairs, downstairs, and then the outdoor viewing platform definitely makes a difference. The outdoor viewing platform, more than enough room for 10 to 15 people comfortably. These 2 are kind of hogging up the space at this point, but they're definitely enjoying themselves. Big smiles all the way around. So a lot of people ask me, well, what do you do on the train all day? You see the sun rising over the train as we're boarding. One of the things with Rocky Mountain Air, since we're doing this all in daylight, is we're doing this early in the morning. The wheels on the train start to roll around 8 a.m. We're getting to the train station around 7:30, 7:15. Your transfer from the hotel is going to be maybe around 6:30, 6:45 in the morning. So 2 early mornings, 3 early mornings, maybe in a row. Breakfast will start immediately. In Silverleaf, we're going to maybe start in the front for breakfast in the morning, start in the back for lunch in the afternoon. In Gold Leaf, however, we actually split you up into 2 different sections. If you're seating 1 in the morning, you would be seating 2 the following day. And the people that are seating 2 will get a scone, coffee, tea at their seat before breakfast, and before lunch, if you're seating 2, we start with a cheese and cracker plate and some wine. As far as sightseeing, it's abundant throughout. I'll talk about that a little bit more. And here's a great image of that abundant sightseeing. We travel about 300 miles. We're doing this 300 miles at about 30 miles an hour. Quick, easy math, that's about 10 hours on the train. When we go past sites like this, or even the next picture, Hell's Gate, you're getting some imagery that you want to be able to get that picture. So we're going to be able to slow down to a crawl at this point, 5, 4, 3 miles an hour, maybe get out into that sun deck area of the Gold Leaf section to be able to get a picture of Hell's Gate. And here's a great picture of the guy taking a picture around the bend. And what this picture reminds me of, and the next one is almost a sharp contrast to it, we travel from Vancouver, which is a rainforest region, through the semi-arid desert region of British Columbia onto the high alpine. So the wildlife that we're going to see as we get through the semi-arid desert region is going to be a contrast to that of the grizzly and black bear that we're going to get as we get into the high alpine of the Rockies. But the beautiful region that you have rivers, you have lakes that are all around you. As you're pulling into the town of Kamloops, you have this giant 25-mile lake. You have mountain goats all up in the mountainous region there, the cliffs, if you will. Lots of eagles, lots of ospreys, different varied wildlife that you get with an image like this one here. And it doesn't matter what seat you're sitting in, whether you're dining down in the gold leaf, you're up in your gold leaf seat, or you're over in silver leaf, you're going to see the wildlife right outside your window. So as we're passing by a black bear, perhaps a moose on the left, a grizzly on the right, you'll hear that from our hosts on board, and it's going to come through their walkie-talkie, because further up the train, maybe the conductor had noticed this wildlife. So they're going to spot that out for you. And it's such a great experience. Everyone on the train really comes together as one, and the socialization starts really well at that point. And it's also sites like this. We're now at Mount Robson. Mount Robson's around 14,000 feet, the highest peak in the Canadian Rockies. You're seeing it in the fall imagery here. And the next slide is Pyramid Falls. So as we go through this region, again, at a snail's pace past something like Pyramid Falls, you really get to experience the destination from the comfort of your rail seat. So we've thought about the routes, we've thought about the service levels that we have. You then have to think about when to travel. Since this is an all daylight operation, we don't travel during the winter. We start in mid-April and go through mid-October. And I say we don't start in the winter, but the first thing you see is a picture of spring in the winter. At Lake Louise, which is in the heart of the Canadian Rockies, the ice is not out of the lake until June 1st. So we say that summer will start in earnest on June 1st. So you'll have a winter element with your spring environment. You'll have cherry blossoms in Vancouver. But if you really want to get away from the ice and snow, summer is the time to do that. So summer is June, July, August. The first part of summer is going to be a little wetter than the second half of summer naturally. But what we're finding at this point is the most popular time to travel is mid-August through mid-September, and that starts our autumn period as well. So you don't get quite the same fall foliage in autumn that you do here in New England and the Northeast, but you definitely get some great colors. The aspens get yellow, the tops of the mountain will become white with snow, and you have that beautiful blue. If you do start to travel in through October, which we end about October 12th, you will get a winter element at that point. Now, Rocky Mountaineer is amazing. 2 and 3 day train trips are great, but most people aren't going to come up to Alberta and British Columbia just for 2 or 3 days. So we have curated some great packages, and we allow people to do sightseeing by motor coach, or you can do it by self-drive. So you have these great motor coaches that are available. You have a great opportunity to do it with Avis rental car when you're in the Rockies. But the base of everything are our 3 routes. So although you're going to choose a package, you first have to look at which train route am I going to do. So let's bring up First Passage to the West at Leisure. This is using our southern route that connects Lake Louise over to Vancouver. So this in the map, similar to the way Jim was explaining it, we have all of the nights of stay. So we have a night in Vancouver, which is criminal. Personalize this and add on 2 or 3 more nights in Vancouver. But in this situation, you have a night in Vancouver, a day on the train, a night in Kamloops, a day on the train, and then we're off of the train, and that green dotted line is going to be 5 days of motor coaching or self-drive with 2 nights at Lake Louise, 2 nights Banff, a night in Calgary. So a trip like this, priced out around $3,500 is our Silver Leaf with 4-star hotels. It may go up to $4,500 if you do Gold Leaf with 5-star hotels. The next one, though, is definitely a highlight as well. This is our Grand Rail Circle. And folks, I'm only choosing 2 of our packages to share with you today so that you have a taste and understanding of what we do, but you can personalize and customize the same way Jim was talking. This is now a 13-day itinerary. You have 2 days on the train with that First Passage West, the southern route. You have 3 days on the train with the Rainforest to Gold Rush, every single night in a hotel with an abundance of time spent exploring the Icefields Parkway, Banff, Lake Louise, and Jasper. Now that becomes the problem. I said 1 night in Vancouver isn't enough. You'll see from this next slide, Vancouver is stunning. If you've been there by cruise ship, you probably had that 30-minute downtown experience and then were whisked away to an airport. You need to spend more time here. It's one of my highlights. But then how much time are you going to spend in the Icefields Parkway? When you get to Lake Louise, your jaw is going to drop. This is one of the most stunning destinations I've ever been to. And on Lake Louise is that beautiful Chateau Lake Louise. This, again, is a Fairmont property. And I want to talk about this for a second because you may say, I'm not sure I can afford a 5-star hotel like that. I want the best of both worlds. How do I stay at that and stay within my budget? There's a few ways. There's something that's called run-of-house rooms. You book the room with your bedding category, and then Chateau Lake Louise is going to put you where they have availability. You may get a lake view, but most likely you're going to be looking out the back at a pine tree or something along that line. If your budget is one that is normally traveling at the 5-star level, well, then by all means, we can get you a deluxe room overlooking the lake and glacier, and you can enjoy all of the Gold Leaf service has to offer. Banff, however, is my favorite city within, and I call it a city. My goodness, what a faux pas. This is a village atmosphere. You know, maybe it balloons up to 40,000 people in the heart of the summer. But as you look at the main street of Banff, this is a wonderful place. You have more than 60 restaurants within a 2-block radius, lots of great shopping. And then the surrounding area, you get to the top of Sulphur Mountain by the Banff Gondola. I love sitting in Adirondack chairs at 7,000 feet above sea level, but there's all these little paths as well. And when you look at the paths that meander all throughout, it makes me realize, depending on how you like to travel, how active are you? Would you like to hang out with me in an Adirondack chair, or would you like to go do all of these little steps around? Entirely up to you how you want to travel. And then the last bit of areas that we travel to is Calgary. Again, this is one of our gateway cities. Calgary is a foodie city. It's also home to the Calgary Stampede. I do put it, though, as still a single night destination. Use it as a true gateway city. Enjoy your meal out, you know, on 8th Street or something along that line. But I would say put more time into Vancouver, put more time into the Icefields Parkway as well. So when you're working with your AAA counselor, they can really make sure that you have the right package that fits your needs, that fits your budget. And they know because they have me for training. I'm in their offices, Jim's in their offices. We're partners with them. It really is a great experience. And as Jim had mentioned, the member benefits. So being a AAA member, when you're on the train with us, there's no additional out-of-pocket expenses. All of your food's included, all of your alcoholic, non-alcoholic beverages are included. So what did we want to do? We wanted to give you some onboard merchandise. And you can see here that there's ways to increase the value of onboard merchandise that you get. This isn't all just, you know, Rocky Mountaineer hats and jackets. We actually have some gems of our own in this area, some great artisans that have made perhaps some jade or other items as well. And before I go, I just want to mention the offer that we currently have. This is valid through August 28th for packages in 2021. You would receive 2 additional hotel nights for free, a transfer from the airport, and a dinner. And the best part of this is the very bottom line there. We understand the uncertainty of this time, and we want to make you feel a little bit more comfortable making a reservation. So it's only a $25 Canadian deposit. That's like $8 US, folks. Now, it's probably closer to 20, but it's not that expensive. So if you go ahead and make your reservation today, you get all the free perks. You put down $25 Canadian. We're then going to ask you for your follow-up deposit in November, and then also a final payment, depending on the offer, if it's in January or 60 days prior to the trip itself. But I've gone on enough. I want to thank everyone for joining us today, and I think we're going to go on to questions now. So thank you.
Wow, thank you guys so much. That was just incredible. Now we've really been able to see what both of these fantastic companies have to offer us. I know that we've gotten quite a few questions in, so continue to add your questions into the chat box. Again, it's the small Q&A bar on the bottom of your screen. While we wait for some of those questions to come in, I just wanted to remind you all that booking with a AAA trusted travel advisor is part of your membership benefits. Our team has all the resources that you need, from safety protocols to the best travel deals. Dollars off, upgrades, bonus perks are all yours to enjoy because you are a member. Our agents are available by phone, or you can set up an appointment today as well. So we have quite a few questions that had come in. We're going to start with this one. Are there any fees for single travelers? So Jim, I'm going to give that one to you.
Yep, absolutely. And by the way, great job, Timmy, folks. That was fantastic. I obviously, just like every travel company out there, we have lots of folks that travel with us as solo or single travelers. There is an additional fee. So depending on where and when you're interested in, you just let your local AAA travel advisor know, and they'll just let you know what the difference in price would be. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you so much. For Rocky Mountain Air, do you sleep on the train or is it hotel stays? And actually, we had another question that was very similar to this as well, that was asking about what sleeping arrangements are on the train. So I think I'll let both of you guys share, because both experiences, I believe, are just slightly different.
Yeah, well, with Rocky Mountain Air, again, they want to make sure you're seeing the location. We're not traveling quite as far as some of the other trains that you may have experienced throughout, travel in North America and Europe. So with us, the goal really is the sightseeing outside of the window. That is the only reason we're not sleeping on the train. We want to make sure that you have the ability to see all of the great scenery while you're actually riding. Overnighting in Kamloops is just a perfect in-between spot between Vancouver and the Canadian Rockies. So there are no sleeper compartments. There is no private little section like Jim was showing as well. It is all within that dome, or gold leaf dome or silver leaf dome.
Yep. And if I could add on to this, so obviously with the Amtrak Vacations, you do have opportunities to travel overnight inside of a sleeper. And I will mention, most of the overnight travel, kind of to Tim's point, are purposely more in areas where maybe there's more flatlands. When you're in some of those iconic areas, such as the Rocky Mountains in Colorado, or traveling out to some of the beautiful national parks, those will typically be during the day. And as far as sleepers, the first level, which is the most popular, is roomettes. On an average, maybe $200 to $300 extra per person to upgrade from coach to a roomette. And then bedrooms obviously would be more expensive. But again, bedrooms, you have your own private toilet, shower, and vanity inside. And I will mention, we also have handicap accessible rooms as well. So if anybody does need those, feel free to let us know. And one last thing I'll even mention, folks, we also have a lot of people that will travel on board with Amtrak Vacations on their way up to Vancouver. So you could almost have the best combination of both US and Canada, even into next year, where you could combine a Rocky with an Amtrak Vacation, or, as I mentioned, even across Canada on Via Rail, which does also have private sleepers, just like it does in the US. Yep.
Great, thank you so much. I know that's such a common question that gets asked about train travel, so that's great, thank you. Someone else asked, are any of these trips kid friendly? And if so, what are the best ages to travel with children by train?
Yep. You want to take that first, Jim?
Yeah, if that's all right to me. Yeah, sure. So our trips absolutely are. I think I mentioned I went on the auto train package last year with my family. My children ages 9, 10, and 14. But we have families travel, parents, grandparents, grandchildren, definitely kid friendly. If you're looking for destinations that are kid friendly, obviously any of the national parks, you get a lot of history there. The Grand Canyon, Glacier, Yellowstone, Yosemite, but also even some of the great areas like Washington, D.C., as an example, New York City, from certainly New England. That's a nice little getaway, as well as even up into Niagara Falls as well. I've taken my family, but these are some of the popular family destinations on our end. Yeah.
Well, as far as Rocky Mountain Air, I think we best fit with the more mature market. I would not say that a child's not invited on our train, but it is 10 hours each day, and there is no Wi-Fi on the train. So as a parent of a 12 and 14-year-old, I think about, the need for a little bit of social media or some other things that my children have, and I would be entertaining them a little bit more. So, from that standpoint, I would say let's stay with the more mature market, or at least the older teens when they're traveling. But at the same point, I would say age 8 and up is very important, because many of our excursions off of the train have that as the minimum age. So if you are traveling with a 4 or 5-year-old, probably not going to be the best experience for them, as they will be limited for some of the off-train excursions.
Great, thank you so much. Tim, I'm gonna pass this one over to you. When do the trains stop from Vancouver to Jasper? Is there a certain season that's best to travel in that area?
So again, it's April through October. April and October are going to be a winter element in Jasper. I feel one of the best times in that region is getting into late May, early June. You're starting to see the wildlife really pop. The spring has sprung and it's getting into summer, but it's all about the wildlife. Not that it's going to be less abundant later in the year, but there definitely seems to be that itchy feeling that the wildlife has. And as they come out late May into early June, it's wonderful to see the elk right in downtown Jasper, or even downtown Banff. You got to be careful. They look comfortable and nice and fuzzy, but they got these big antlers as well. And then you wear a bell if you're afraid of grizzly or black bear. They give you a little bell to walk around with. I'm not sure how well that bell does, but just be faster than the person you're walking with.
Oh, I love it. Let's see. How are seats assigned on the train, and can I choose my own? So Jim, I'm going to send that one over to you.
Yep, absolutely. So in coach and business class, folks, they're all, wherever you'd like to sit. As of right now, again, they are operating as of today on board Amtrak Vacations at a 50% capacity on purpose, just to allow more room. But obviously, when you upgrade to a sleeper, you'll have a designated sleeper for the duration of your trip, from the city you depart from until the city you arrive in. Yep.
Great.
And for Rocky Mountain Air, you cannot choose your exact seat, but the seat is assigned to you. So you can't say, I want to be in the very last train car in seat number 70 or something along that line. You would be able to say, I'd like gold leaf or silver leaf, and then we make sure that your party is accommodated properly. And Jim has mentioned a few things as well, as far as limitations of passengers on board going down to 50%. At this point, we're not sure if we're going to be able to even operate in September, October of 2020. So we're really looking at, 2021, and what are the regulations going to be at that point. If we opened up today, we would be in a very similar situation, running at closer to 50%. And as we go into 2021 right now, that's what we're actually booking as. We're booking at a 50% occupancy on the train. So if you're going to be in Silverleaf, which normally has 70 people, it might be down to 35 or 40. And if you're going to be in, that's Goldleaf. Goldleaf has 70 people, which may be down to 35 or 40. And Silverleaf has 56, total seats. So that might be down to 35 or 40 as well, maybe even a little bit less. But, again, the left or right side of the train when you're on Rocky Mountain Air, I have not chosen a favorite side to be on. When you cross over one trestle, now the left side's a little bit better. You cross back over another trestle, getting over, one of the rivers, and now the right side's a little bit better. So it's tough to say, even if you had to assign a seat, where would you want to be on the train?
That's great, thank you. And Tim, I'm going to send this one to you as well. Are there more routes and itineraries available with Rocky Mountain Air than what was shown today?
So the routes themselves, being the three main routes between Vancouver and Jasper, Banff, Lake Louise, those are the three routes. But as far as the packages, I showed 2 packages. You can make 100 different packages with Rocky Mountain Air. You are using the train as your base experience, and then you're building on from there. If you'd like to do 2 nights on Vancouver Island over in Victoria at the beautiful Empress Hotel, we can do 2-3 nights there. Go to Bouchard Gardens, enjoy yourself. You could do 6-7 nights in Vancouver and Victoria before you even get on the train. So the train is the base experience. You have to take the train in order to take part in our hotel inventory, but you can personalize, and make it your own. And you don't even have to do anything else. You know, Jim mentioned that you can go from Toronto all the way to Jasper on Via Rail, get off in Jasper, get on to Rocky Mountain Air, and then just do the 2 days with us, get off in Vancouver, go do your own thing.
Perfect. I love how customizable it is. It's so nice that you're able to, you know, to really create exactly what it is that works for you and your family at that time. I love it. So this question, we'll start with Jim, but I think it's good for both of you. Is it possible to add pre or post nights onto any of the tours that are already built? And I know, Tim, you kind of just answered that with your last question. Everything is really customizable, but we'll start with you, Jim.
Yep. So literally, folks, any trips can be customized. That's the beauty. You know, Tim and I have known each other for a long time, been fortunate to work together for years. And I know I speak for both of us. You know, that's the beauty with both brands is, you know, you can make it your own. You can personalize it. With us, that's a little bit different is you can personalize it and customize it within your trip too. So, you know, if you want to stop and visit family, friends along the way, if you want to spend, you know, 2 nights in a particular city in the middle of a tour versus 1 night or versus 3 nights, you can add days, take out days. There's over 500 Amtrak stations, just so you know, everyone, that you can start or end your trip at. You can go one way and then fly home. It literally, AAA does everything for you. And Tim and I, both being fellow New Englanders, as we all know, there's plenty of train stations throughout just New England, let alone New York and New Jersey, as well as the US. So yes, any trip can be customized, pre, post, added on to a cruise if you're going on a cruise or doing it as a standalone trip.
And with Rocky Mountain Air, the only part that cannot be customized is when you get on the train in Vancouver and you're doing a 2-day package up to Jasper. You have to get on the train, overnight in Kamloops, and then get off the train in Jasper. Those 2 days are a package. Other than that, the sky's the limit. Do you want to get into your own car and go out and we just handle hotels for you? We can absolutely do that. So lots of different opportunities, but the one area that you can't do is you couldn't go and spend 3 nights in Kamloops. You can't go and spend multiple nights in Whistler or Quesnel because those are part of our package and you're getting onto the train the next day. Other than that, before you get on board or after you get on board, we have hundreds of suppliers that are more than willing to help you enjoy your vacation.
Perfect. And I know we have a ton of questions coming in, so I think we're going to close it with this question because it's been asked by a couple of different participants. I know we touched on it briefly in each presentation, but can you explain what train travel will look like in a post-COVID world? So what type of, safety precautions and sanitation procedures can the members expect to see while they're on board, minus the half passengers?
Hey, Jim, I'll jump on this one first.
Yep. Go ahead, bud.
One of the things that we're looking at is exactly that. How do we make everything safe? And I think a lot of you have heard how the airplanes are circulating the air within their own compartments. The one thing with Rocky Mountain Air is you constantly have fresh air coming into every train car. We have 0 recycled air on our train car. So that's one, and that's been forever. The next thing is the cleanliness. We have a crew that is constantly cleaning. You cannot go between the train consists. The train consist is from the locomotive all the way to the back of the train, and typically you can go up and down that. With Rocky Mountain Air, you are going to be within your own train car. So if you were in Silverleaf, you're in that for the day. If you're in Goldleaf, you're in that for the day as well. The foggers that we've all heard about. Rocky Mountain Air is invested in foggers. We're completely sanitizing at all times. And on top of it, we are limiting capacity as we move forward. We are going to exceed whatever the government standards are in Canada. And I think you all agree, Canada's being pretty stringent with this. So we're going to be just as stringent as well and make sure that safety is the number one.
Absolutely. And just to kind of add to Timmy's point, all of everything he said, and I think with us, which also just complements both brands, is again, for those of you joining us that you are having a little cabin fever, or you want to visit family, friends, or you just want to go somewhere maybe with your family or parents or grandparents or grandchildren, you can travel as early as the late summer and fall of this year. We're noticing definitely a trend without a doubt across all AAAs in the United States, all the members, and that is they're traveling locally, like I said, within the US and in Canada. That was thunder, by the way, if you heard that in the background. Within the US and Canada within the next year or two. So very similar. We're going to stay at those same protocols until pretty much, hopefully we all see a cure, with everything going on. So the only thing I'll just add one last time, and to be, if you want to add anything else, I just wanted to mention again, folks, if you do want to take advantage of these additional savings, as long as you reach out to your local AAA travel advisor before the end of the day this Friday, July 17th, with a small deposit, $250 to book to travel anytime later this summer or anytime in 2021. Again, if it's between 3 and 6 nights, you could take $300 off per couple. If it's between 7 and 9 nights, take $400 off per couple. And if it's 10 or more nights, $500 off per couple, plus being a AAA Northeast member will apply even additional discounts and savings for you. So just wanted to mention that one last time.
That's great. Thank you guys so much. I know that that's, where we're all thinking is what can we expect travel to look like in a post-COVID world. So we definitely appreciate that.
And that is also going to be something that will be constantly updated on, I'm sure, both of our websites as well, is what are we doing to make sure that everyone is safe. So I would recommend, as we continue to do training with all of the great travel advisors from AAA Northeast, that will be a highlight that both Jim and I are mentioning to them. And your AAA travel consultant will definitely know what is the post-COVID world on both of our products.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Tim. Just as Tim said, our travel agents are up to date on all the procedures and everything that's changing with our partners. It looks like that's about all the time that we have for today. We really appreciate all of you for joining us, especially to our panelists, Jim and Tim. We appreciate you both so much. Thank you very much for your transparency and the really inspiring opportunities that you guys shared. All of this information certainly gives us a greater understanding about all that's available to us with train travel. If you guys have any questions, please feel free to reach out to one of our travel advisors. You can see the email address on your screen, AAA Travel Advisors at AAAnortheast.com. You can also visit AAA.com/travel to schedule an appointment with an agent as well, and they'd be more than happy to help you. And as Meg said earlier in the presentation, this recording will be posted on our website later this week for you to go back and revisit if you needed to. Thank you all again for joining us, and I hope you have a great evening.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you, folks.